Today I'm working on putting the power steering belt onto the pump. Close quarters in here, so it's hard to show things. But this is the belt. It goes on the last pulley, which is slightly smaller on the crank pulley. And then it goes, of course, around the power steering pump, which is right there. So I was trying to pull this tight. The belt was kind of floppy like this. I was trying to pull it tight, and I was trying to pry it and everything, and I hadn't tightened this up real tight. And basically the bolt that runs through the slotted, and I'll show you on the alternator, the slotted adjustable thing there. I loosened it maybe an eighth of a turn. It wasn't much at all, but I'm trying to get a video of where that bolt is. That's it right down there. It's really tight to get in there, and you see the hose in the way? You can't really get a socket on it, so it's got to be a regular wrench. So that's going to be tough to tighten that. But point is, that thing wasn't very tight at all, and I couldn't move the power steering pump, and I loosened it maybe an eighth of a turn, and all of a sudden that power steering pump would move for me. See if I can see. Wasn't much at all. So I've got to pry this tight so I can get a good tension on the belt. And you got to be careful with these power steering pumps because the body of them is just sheet metal. You don't want to be prying on that because you'll bend it and cause a leak. So I'm going to pry, and I'm probably not going to do this on camera. I'll show you how I'm going to do it, but then I'm going to need all my hands for prying and tightening. So I have a pry bar going underneath the crank pulley, and this isn't crazy tension you got to put on it, so you know you're not going to damage the crank pulley. But I've got, if I can get a video of it, I don't know. Okay, so there's the bar, and you can see that it's resting on the, it's not going to focus because there's stuff in the way. It's resting on the cast iron part of the pump where the shaft goes in, and I can pry on that, and it's underneath the crankshaft pulley. And then I'll get a wrench on this bolt down in here. I think that's where it was. That bolt down in there, and tighten it. Then there's another bolt that probably is better accessed from underneath that goes through the pump, and it's the pivot bolt. There's no sliding groove for it, it's just a hole, but it also helps keep that thing tight. So I may come back and show you where that is from underneath the car, but for now I'm just going to try to get tension on the belt and tighten that bolt to get it to stay. So I tightened the power steering belt as best I could from underneath. I'm not sure I'm entirely happy with it. It may squeal whenever it's under pressure. But for today, I just want to get this car up to the house, the garage at the house for the winter so that I can work on it. So I'm sure that's going to be good enough for today. So this is the power steering pump from the bottom. This is the nut that goes in on the groove of the adjuster. And this is, where can I find it? This is the pivot point. It goes through the case of the power steering pump. Those are the two you have to tighten. I don't know if that's tight enough, but it's good enough to get me to the house. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put that bridge jack down to put the wheels on the ramp so I can drive it off. But the other thing I'm going to do is once I have that bridge jack down, since it's the same type of jack I have at the 4-post lift up the house, although the lift's different, but the bridge jack is the same. I'm going to slide it forward to make sure that I can drive over the bridge jack that's up the house when I put this thing on the lift up there.